There was once a time when simulators, RPGs, and sports titles dominated the video gaming landscape. Then a little game called Doom came along and everything changed. Now you could argue the first-person shooter is video gaming, and as each level, mission, or chapter weaves those ingredients together, the more intense, absorbing, and unforgettable the experience. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are the 10 best first-person shooter levels of all time. Number 10, Belly of the Beast, Medal of Honor 2010. This game deserved better. Critical opinion was lukewarm, but with its conscientiously authentic take on military shooters, Medal of Honor won the respect of fans looking for something more thoughtful than COD's relentless action focus. In Belly of the Beast, things go sour fast. Poor intel leads to an insertion into a hot LZ. Casualties are taken and require extraction immediately. Your mission is secure a second LZ and hold it. It sounds simple. It isn't. Between you and Xville lies a punishing engagement against large caliber AAA and tense close quarters fighting amid cramped buildings. And when you arrive at the LZ, things get real. RPGs methodically dismantle your cover as enemies pour in from all sides, laying down a relentless hail of fire so thick it's near impossible to shoot back. It's savage stuff, and few if any military shooters do as good of a job of making you feel that kind of raw, unbridled desperation, and the subsequent immense shattering relief when help arrives, as this one does. What makes the mission all the more impactful is that it and many of the game's missions were inspired by true events that often did not end as well. Medal of Honor keeps it respectful, but that glimpse into the harsh reality of combat is what makes this level a powerful must-play. Number 9, Surface Tension, Black Mesa. Throughout the course of Black Mesa, you battle through a maze of corridors, radioactive pits, and ethically questionable labs. You've taken down soldiers, aliens, and 3-story razor-beaked tentacles. By the time you reach the surface, you feel like a one-man army. Well, it's time to prove it, because now you're up against an entrenched military, facing the game's toughest, most aggressive, most well-equipped enemies on their turf. And those are just the grunts. The level also throws a gunship at you while you're on a dam, out in the open. And if you panic and jump into the water, there are 2 alien ichthyosaurs waiting. Yes, it's that kind of level. But persevere and you are rewarded. This is where the invasion of Earth boils over into all-out war, and it is sublime. You'll see Vortigaunt's blown to literal pieces by tank shells, only for the aliens to return the favor with precision bombing runs that roar in to wipe out the tanks, grunts, and you if you're not careful. Surface Tension is Black Mesa at its toughest, most cinematic, satisfying best, and fighting your way through is a hard-won achievement any FPS fan will be proud to own. Number 8, the ESCHER Labs, DUSK. Cynics might see DUSK as yet another retro shooter revival title looking to ride the coattails of Doom, Quake, and Duke Nukem 3D to greatness. But fans know better. DUSK is no pretender and makes excellent use of modern technology to innovate in ways that those titles never could. The basics are all there. Movement is fluid, the gunplay is satisfying, and DUSK's unique horror-esque brand of enemies are an ideal blend of kill them in style cannon fodder and pants-wettingly terrifying nightmare-inducing murder machines. But what sets it apart is the level of creativity put into its level design. The ESCHER Labs, as the name suggests, is set in an ethically challenged lab with more than a hint of Half-Life in its DNA. That's the only sane thing about it, because before you know it, the level goes from spooky but familiar to mind-meltingly non-Euclidean. Where the floor is the ceiling is the floor, and reality is twisted like a pretzel. It's the kind of trippy, disorientating brain masher of a level only Half-Life Alyx executes anywhere near as well. Time will tell if DUSK becomes one of the greats, but with levels like the ESCHER Labs, it definitely deserves to. Number 7, Hollywood Holocaust, Duke Nukem 3D. Welcome guys and gals to gaming royalty. This was the 90s first-person shooter perfected. All the fundamentals were here: buttery smooth movement, visceral gunplay, and varied hard-hitting enemies. Level design was outstanding, intuitive, fun, and crammed full of secrets. Interactivity was mind-blowing, mirrors were reflective, light switches actually worked, and no game had done that before. Many still don't. No, what set Duke Nukem apart was the fact that you're not playing as some silent, unnamed tough guy. Instead, You're Duke Nukem, you're Stallone, you're Schwarzenegger, you're the baddest SOB alive, and you're here to save babies, kick ass, and chew bubblegum, all while rattling off some of the hammiest, most hilarious, and downright awesome one-liners ever written. Duke Nukem 3D is an outrageously over-the-top, but for the time, surprisingly clever pastiche of the 90s Hollywood action movies. Hollywood Holocaust brilliantly encapsulates the experience in one neat, compact, punchy level. Duke Nukem Forever may have proved that Duke's era has come and gone, but this level remains arguably its least offensive and accessible showpiece. Number 6. All Ghillied Up, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. A stealth mission in a Call of Duty game? Really? And yet, All Ghillied Up became arguably one of the best Call of Duty and one of the best shooter levels in general of all time. Your mission is simple. Find a sniper perch from which you are to assassinate a terrorist. Standard stuff. Thing is, that sniper perch is sat right next to the center of Pripyat, the once bustling city abandoned following the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. That fact alone makes it an eerie, surreal, and very dangerous place to be. Then add the experience of stealthily and methodically eliminating guards with precisely timed shots, sneaking through the tall grass in a suit that makes you undetectable, and watching in bowel-loosening awe as tanks and soldiers pass literally inches away from you. We're talking complete electrifying immersion in the experience of being a top-tier Special Forces operator doing what they only dare do. Now yes, All Ghillied Up is as restrictive a Call of Duty mission as any other, but in terms of doing what COD is good at, producing tightly scripted, highly polished cinematic set pieces that are wildly entertaining, it's the absolute pinnacle of what the franchise can achieve. Number 5. Fort Frolic, BIOSHOCK. BIOSHOCK is rapture. Yes, the combat doesn't disappoint, but Andrew Ryan's underwater dystopia remains one of the most expertly realized, thematically dense, and intensely unsettling settings in the history of shooters. And Fort Frolic is its perfect microcosm. As the city's entertainment hub, it is rapture at its most varied. A melting pot of shopping areas, fine dining, theaters, art galleries, even a strip club. It exhibits the city's beautiful Art Deco style to full effect. And over this is laid the story of the city's fall, with the once welcoming space perverted by bloodied walls, crazed splices, and unique to Fort Frolic, plaster statues crafted from living people. Which brings us to its patron, Sander Cohen. Like Fort Frolic itself, the insane artist is one of BIOSHOCK's most memorable characters. Where others were driven to insanity by a lust for power, Cohen cared only for his craft, transforming the location into his personal twisted artistic utopia, with the former citizens its unwilling performers. It's a chilling space to be in, familiar yet horribly corrupted, with an overlord who's both frightening and strangely tragic. BIOSHOCK is a tour de force of sublime aesthetics, atmosphere, and complex personalities, and Fort Frolic is where you can best experience it. Number 4. The Covenant, Halo 3. Time had finally come for Master Chief and players to deal with their nemesis, the Covenant. And to create a spectacle to match the expectation, Bungie had to pull out all the proverbial stops. And boy, did they. From its intense opening beach assault to its vehicular combat, pulse-pounding close-quarters skirmishes, to its gunship sequence, to driving a tank, to tangling with 2 heavy assault walkers, finally storming the big bad's last holdout alongside surprise allies, and secondary antagonist, the Flood. The mission is balls-to-the-wall action on the type of ambition and scale that only Halo could pull off. And weaving through this are drama-filled cutscenes with long-time allies taking well-earned revenge, and the sad but heroic death of fan-favorite characters, lending gravitas to the action and transforming what might otherwise have been a stylish but brainless brawl into an experience as emotionally engaging as it is thrilling. There might have been 2 more missions to go, but the Covenant is Halo 3's, and with it the Halo original trilogy's true send-off. Number 3. Super Gore Nest, Doom Eternal. Super Gore Nest. It's a name only Doom can get away with, but despite the bombastic overtones, the level forgoes a lot of Doom Eternal's often mind-numbing frenzy and polarizing platforming for old-school Doom exploration and more strategic combat. In homage to the original Doom, you have to find 3 keys in order to complete the level. These are spread throughout one of Eternal's most disgusting yet awe-inspiring environments. Rivers of molten lava rub shoulders with crumbling skyscrapers and pools of blood, blood surrounded by pulpy flesh and of course oozing viscera. All of this is packed into a dense maze of narrow corridors, compact caverns, teleporters, and vast multi-level arenas, meaning there's a lot of exploration to do here. And when it comes to action, those arenas are some of Eternal's best. Expansive, vertical, and with little place to hide. Each is populated with an enemy roster of snipers and highly mobile brawlers, creating a tactical witch's brew of precision long-range fighting, brutal close-quarters battle, and frantic repositioning. The more sedate pace comes as welcome breather from Eternal's unrelenting intensity, and a welcome throwback for fans of classic Doom. Number 2. The Ark, Titanfall 2. Some will say that the narrative masterclass that is Effect and Cause is Titanfall 2's crowning achievement. But in terms of fulfilling the promise of a game all about piloting giant mechs, the Ark is the game's money level. You're part of a task force on a do-or-die airborne assault to board an enemy cruiser and secure the titular Ark. But the mission quickly goes south, because of course it does. Your forces are decimated by an enemy Titan, your transport destroyed, and you're left plummeting towards the admittedly gorgeous scenery hundreds of feet below. Saved in the nick of time by an allied pilot, you look up to see the battle in full spectacular swing. And that's just how it starts. What follows is a kinetic hammer blow. Wall running with nothing but a death-defying drop beneath you as you transition from strong point to strong point, executing a Spec Ops style breach into the bridge, and concluding with a tough mech-on-mech boss fight is exhilarating in the extreme. It never lets up, yet not once does it overwhelm. The Ark is nothing less than a slick, perfectly executed, good old-fashioned action romp, guaranteed to bring out the inner 8-year-old in even the most jaded of shooter fans. Number 1. We don't go to Ravenholm, Half-Life 2. Ravenholm is not a friendly place. It's dark. Corpses, or what's left of them, lie strewn everywhere. The streets are choked with zombies, from the series' signature shamblers to the howling, deeply unsettling fast zombies to a bit of lumbering nightmare fuel that we won't spoil here. Head crabs lurk behind every corner, every piece of furniture. Basically, this is a town that does not like the living. Worse, ammunition is scarce, so going in guns blazing is not an option. Instead, in order to survive, you're forced to turn to the gravity gun, to use any projectile you can find, saw blades, meat hooks, even bricks, as a weapon, which is not an easy thing to do with zombies closing in from all sides. And this is where Ravenholm shines. You have to think, to plan ahead, all while being harassed by the undead and battling nerves already buckling under the weight of a nightmarish environment that is as much a malevolent force as it is a town. It is quintessentially Half-Life, precision puzzle solving set in beautifully atmospheric arenas. But no puzzles are as intense and the arenas as deadly as in Ravenholm. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment section what would make your list for the best first-person shooter levels of all time. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonnell, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.